Hello Mohawk, this is your morning news with myself, Letara. Today, Egypt's recently appointed vice president has agreed to allow freedom of the press, lift the country's long-standing emergency law, and free those detained by security forces since protesters began 2 weeks ago. The concessions were announced Sunday after his first meeting with Egypt's main opposition groups, including the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood. The country's emergency law, which has been imposed since 1981 and allowed arrests without charge, holding prisoners for an indefinite period, and legalized censorship, would be lifted when security allows. He and the opposition groups also tracked a plan to create a committee of political and judicial representatives to examine how the change constitution, according to the state news agency, proposed constitutional reforms including forcing term limits on the president and allowing more candidates to run for that post. The committee has until the beginning of March to proceed with changes. It also agreed not to impede text messaging or internet access. The protesters have been demanding the immediate resignation of President Hosni Mubarak, who has been in power for 3 decades. The reforms announced Sunday followed a series of earlier concessions that appeared aimed at appeasing the protesters as well as easing international pressure on Egypt's government to have Mubarak step down immediately. The 82-year-old leader has said that he will not seek re-election but will remain president until elections are held in September. The government has also vowed that Mubarak's son Gamal, who many believed would succeed him, will not run for president. Mubarak has said he cannot step aside for the time being because it would cause chaos. Now for a Groundhog Day recap with Ida Adamovich.
It might not look like it yet, but sidewalks are shuffled. Streets have been cleared.
The rinks are being plowed.
The stores are open.
The coffees are warm.
Beers are cold.
Events are being planned.
Photos are being taken. The groundhog has indicated an early spring.
Early spring sounds good to me. A Canadian nurse attacked by a shark in Cancun, Mexico has serious injuries to her left arm and the left leg. Recovering well in hospital, Nicole Ross, 38, from Orangeville, Ontario, was swimming at Caribe Park Royal Grand Resort when she was attacked, suffering severed muscles, tendons, and nerves in her lower left leg, left forearm, and hand. Friends said Ross is awake, breathing without a ventilator, and talking with them. The shark had tried to attack another tourist before aiming for Ross. There are reports that the shark had come into shore to give birth and Ross got too close. A lifeguard on a personal watercraft pulled Ross from the water and took her to shore. A witness had said lifeguards tried to corner the shark, but it had swam away before it could be caught. Lifeguards and Marine Patrol officers placed red warning flags along the beach Tuesday to let swimmers know that a shark was in the area. But not everyone avoided the water. Shark attacks are uncommon in Mexico. Now for those of you who aren't on vacation, who experienced the first snow day of the year, here's Mike Gardoni with coverage on that big snowstorm.
A ferocious storm is starting to brew in Hamilton, and things are only going to get worse tomorrow, for classes are being canceled because of this extreme weather that we've been having. We're going to go live with the faculty and teachers here at Mohawk College and talk to them about why people are canceling classes and just how severe the storm is really going to be. Can you just tell us exactly what it takes to cancel school?
Well, ultimately, it's a decision of the executive group here at Mohawk, and so over the next 4 hours or so, we'll be monitoring conditions and making a decision about closure for tomorrow.
How long have you been out today shoveling, sir?
About 2 hours. I shoveled the whole street and the sidewalk, and now the city crew's here cleaning up, so it's pretty good.
Well, one thing's for sure. There's going to be one ferocious blizzard tomorrow, and the president said so himself, there's a likely chance school's going to be closed. Well, I'm Mike Gardoni, and I'm going to stay here where it's nice and warm. Back to you, Letara.
Thanks, Mike. Earth could have 2 suns when the second largest star in the constellation Orion explodes. Scientists are predicting a second sun could illuminate the Earth for a period of about 2 weeks. This event could happen as soon as this year, when one of the brightest stars in the sky explodes, causing enough brightness to illuminate both day and night. The only real issue of debate is over when exactly this event will happen. Some scientists say the blast might have already happened and we just haven't seen the light rays yet. A senior lecturer of physics at the University of Southern Queensland in Australia told the London Telegraph that the blast could happen in the next few months or anytime over the next million years. Though the bright red supergiant is a frightening 100,000 times brighter than our sun, it is a comfortable 640 light years away. Though a lot of questions come to mind, experts claim the event should not otherwise affect our planet. Earth will simply have a front row seat for what promises to be one of the most incredible light shows in our planet's history. Police probing the case of a Barrie, Ontario teen who was killed while vacationing in the Dominican Republic are questioning several Canadians in connection with the case. Jordan Morrison was on holiday with his parents at the Grand Paradise Bavario Resort in the Dominican Republic when other guests say he was involved in a bar fight Thursday night. There are reports Morrison got into an altercation after trying to assist a woman who was being terrorized by a group of several men. Although he was rushed to hospital, Morrison could not be revived. Canada's Department of Foreign Affairs has confirmed Canadians are being held by police but have not provided any further information. In a statement released Friday, Foreign Affairs would only confirm they aren't cooperating with local police in the probes of Morrison's death. Morrison was a student at Barrie North Collegiate Institute who had intentions of joining the military. According to his friends, Morrison looked out for people he knew. The cause of his death has not yet been released. Up next is Reviews on the Fly with Maggie and Jason.
Thanks, Letara. I'm Maggie Sevsek.
And I'm Jason Jones, and this is your Reviews on the Fly. First on tap, we have the Green Hornet. For anyone who hasn't seen it before, it follows Britt Reed, who's played by Seth Rogen. And he is a spoiled party boy whose father recently passed away, leaving him millions of dollars and a newspaper empire. From there, Rogen befriends Kato, who is played by Jay Chow, and the two of them create the Green Hornet. Well, Maggie, they did a lot of things well with this film. What do you think that they did well?
I think the action was amazing. I think Jay Chow did an amazing job portraying Bruce Lee, and I also think the 3D effects were spectacular.
Yes, I also agree that the 3D effects were groundbreaking. Well, Maggie, out of 10, what would you rate this film?
Overall, I would rate the film 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10? I'm going to go with the 6.5 on this one. Next up, it's time to set your time circuits
And hop into the DeLorean.
as we review the Back to the Future on Blu-ray. Now, Maggie, this is one of the most exciting DVDs that I've ever had to review, as this was one of my favorite movies growing up. And for anybody who hasn't seen Back to the Future, it follows Marty, who was sent back to 1955, and in the process destroys the time continuum. So it is up to Marty and his friend, Doc Brown, to send him back to the future. This Blu-ray is packed with special features, including lost interviews, deleted scenes, and a director's cut of the film.
All right, now Jason, what did you find most intriguing about the special features?
The thing that I found most intriguing, actually, Maggie, is that they actually had a different Marty McFly. Eric Stoltz was supposed to play Marty McFly, and they had actually 5 weeks of footage into the film, and they realized that they ultimately didn't want him as Marty McFly. So I think they made a pretty good decision with Michael J. Fox there, Maggie.
All right, now overall, what would you give the movie out of 10?
Seeing how it is one of my favorite movies of all time, I'm going to have to give it a 10.
And I also will give it a 10 out of 10. And that's it for Reviews on the Fly. Back to you, Letara.
Those movies look great. I know I can't wait to see them. Now for a weather update, here's Ida Adamovich.
Thanks, Letara. Now for our 5-day forecast. The week is starting off warm with a high of 0 and scattered flurries. Unfortunately, the rest of the week will be progressively colder. Tuesday is high of -10, Wednesday -11, and Thursday is the coldest day of the week with a temperature of -13. But Don't worry, Friday is going to start warming up again with a high of -7 and scattered flurries. Don't fear, because the weekend is looking good. Now, back to you, Letara.
Thanks, Ida. The announcement late last week that Canada and the U.S. are working together to improve conditions at the border has critics worried. Prime Minister Stephen Harper joined U.S. President Barack Obama in declaring their two nations are in the process of considering a number of changes to the current border regulations. We've agreed to several important steps to increase trade, Obama told reporters at the end of the day's meetings. But the failure to detail exactly what such changes might look like has raised critics' ire, and NDP Foreign Affairs critic Paul Dewar said he's worried about what issues are actually on the negotiating table. I just don't trust the government to negotiate in our best interest, Dewar added. He would like the entire process to be put to Parliament. From his perspective, a Liberal public safety critic, Mark Holland, said he is too worried by the cloak of secrecy that seems to be covering details of the border talks. Sovereignty, sharing of information, and immigration are issues Canadians should be made aware of, if they are in fact out for discussion. Foreign Affairs Minister Lawrence Cannon said the deal is geared towards fostering economic growth, jobs and opportunities between the largest trading partners in the world. At the same time, prevent early threats to Canada and the United States from third parties. Now for Jock Talk with Rob Hibson.
I got that hit to beat the block. You can get that bass on below. I got that rock and roll, that future flow, that digital spit. I got that boom, boom.
Thanks, Letara. Hey there, sports fans. I'm Rob Hibson, and this is Jock Talk. The biggest night in the NFL season took place last night as the Green Bay Packers took on the Pittsburgh Steelers. In one of the most nerve-wracking finishes in past years, Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers led the Green Bay Packers to a 31-25 win, giving the team their first championship since 1997. Penguins fans, if you're hoping to see Evgeny Malkin on your second line, you're going to have to wait just a little longer. According to coach Dan Bylsma, Malkin tore his MCL and ACL in the team's 3-2 win over Buffalo. Surgery is a likely option for the Russian superstar and will most likely keep him out for the rest of the season. For the rest of you hockey fans, here's a quick rundown of the big games this weekend. The last place Devils cruised to an easy 4-1 win over the Montreal Canadiens. In their first meeting since the Winter Classic, Pittsburgh Penguins were once again shut down by the Washington Capitals in a 3-0 loss. More struggles in Leaf Nation as the team was blown away by the Buffalo Sabres 6-2. Now that's all, folks, and remember, keep that stick on the ice. Back to you, Letara.
Thank you, Rob. And so it goes. Thank you for listening on behalf of Ida Adamovich, Rob Hibson, and me, Letara Kudo. Take care, Mohawk.